What this country needs is strong leadership. It needs a man who can lead us into better and safer times. Hello, I'm Ronald Clark, and I am not that man. In the upcoming presidential election, I am urging you not to cast your ballot for me. Please, make your vote count. Don't waste it on me.
Second-class citizens.
For sure.
But you're a person in the White House who will do the most to get the Equal Rights Amendment.
And what about inflation? It's getting so a working man can barely make ends meet now.
He's got it. It's just not safe on the streets anymore.
No!
Yeah.
Hey, don't ask me. I don't have the answers. Frankly, I don't know what we should do about any of our problems.
You're so dense. I can tell you're not our man. He's not the man. He's not the man.
Larry Jr., a kid!
No, I don't want to kiss your baby.
What about national health?
This year on Election Day, make your vote count. Don't vote for Ronald Clark for President of the United States. This announcement paid for by the committee not to elect Ronald Clark.
It's getting so a working man can barely make ends meet now.
He's got it. It's just not safe on the streets.
This man is Ronald A. Clark. He is currently traveling across the nation and spending millions of dollars in an effort to not be elected President of the United States. In a recent interview at his modest home, I simply asked him, why?
It's simple. If I sat back, did nothing, and by some free consensus of the American people got elected president, I'd have only myself to blame. This way I'm taking every possible precaution against having myself become elected president of the United States. Frankly, putting myself in the White House would be nothing short of ridiculous.
Mr. Clark, looking over your record, I find it very impressive, almost staggering. In 1964, you campaigned to not get elected to the State House of Representatives. And you didn't. 4 years later, you got yourself not elected to the Wisconsin gubernatorial race. And in the 70s, you successfully failed to win a seat in the United States Senate. Yet there are some experts that claim this isn't a serious campaign to not get elected. They say that you're only looking ahead to 1984, when your chances of winning are even slimmer. Would you comment on this, sir?
Well, Stacy, let the experts say what they will. After all, that's what we pay them for, isn't it?
Well, surely there are other candidates with just as much chance of losing. I'll toss out a few names and you give me your general reaction.
Okay.
Ronnie Reagan.
He's a great man, a fine actor. I myself don't think he's too old for the job. I say yes, let's have him for our next president.
President James Earl Carter.
Well, during the present crisis, he's done a fine job. I see no reason why we shouldn't keep him as our president.
How about George Bush?
Well, he's a fine man, a good businessman. I say he would make a darn good chief executive.
And California's own Governor Jerry Brown.
Oh, he could be some stiff competition later on.
Clark is confident that he will succeed in not winning the election, but there is one night from his past that could stand between him and his ultimate goal. This is West Schaefer Road, and this is Lake Baylor. On July 7th, 1971, Clark was being driven home by this girl, Kathy Franklin, a close, personal friend of the family. For some unknown reason, the car they were in skidded off Schaefer Road and into the lake. Clark immediately freed himself and, disregarding his own personal safety, dove back into the water and saved Miss Franklin's life. Mr. Clark, you've been labeled a hero, and people like to vote for heroes as president.
Well, that's silly, Stacy. I just did what any normal person would have done. As you know, I really don't remember too much about that evening. I did black out a couple times, and I must admit I was a little bit intoxicated.
Mr. Clark, I've asked you to describe the presidential candidate. Now describe for me Ronald Clark. Just what kind of man is he?
Well, Stacy, I'll tell you. Ronald Clark is a poor leader. He shirks his responsibilities. He hates people. And most of all, Ronald Clark is a big loser.
And so Ronald Clark forges on with the most extensive campaign to not get elected president since George McGovern in 1968. Will his efforts go unrewarded? He, for one, hopes so. This is Stacy Carter reporting.
It's hysteria time here at Ronald Clark's Eastern Campaign headquarters. For the past 3 weeks, Clark has been desperately trying not to get elected president. But some experts say he may be failing. They say he must do something quick to salvage his non-candidacy or face the fact that he just might win this crazy election. Oh my God! Somebody get that gun away from him! This is unbelievable! Ronald Clark has just shot himself. 2 Secret Service men are rushing to his aid, while 2 others are wrestling him down to the ground, trying to pry the gun from his hands. I can't believe this has happened. I can't believe it.
That was the scene just 2 short hours ago. An hour of historic footage in which Ronald Clark is shot down and seriously wounded as he tried to push his way out of his office into a waiting cab. The assailant has been identified as Clark himself. As to whether he acted alone or as part of a conspiracy is not certain. Our resident expert on such matters, Paul Hickman, is here in the studio with us now to discuss the possibility of a second gunman. Paul?
We know for a fact that Ronald Clark did indeed fire a bullet into his own head. We saw it in the tape replay of the shooting. Now let's take a look at the same tape at a different speed and see if we can determine whether or not Clark had an accomplice. Here we see Clark trying to make his way through the lobby. Nothing unusual there. But now there's a rabbit we didn't see there before. If you look in the background, you can see a man standing there who seems to be holding something in his hand. That object may well be a gun. And there's Clark himself, about ready to pull his hand in, kills him. And there's the actual shooting itself. Notice how Clark's head moves back and forth. It's as if he was shot from 2 different angles at the same time.
The man in the background seems to be the key in determining whether there was a conspiracy. Is there any way we'll ever know what was in his hand at the time of the shooting?
Yes, I had the lab get a close-up of the hand itself, which we will be seeing immediately. This, I must add, has not been seen by yet even myself.
It's up on the screen now, Paul. If the viewers at home will just take a look at the left-hand portion of their screen, you can see a man holding some kind of object. Now, Paul, what seems to be your opinion on this? Is it a gun?
I'd rather not make a snap judgment, Walter. It's all rather inconclusive at the moment.
I understand, but if you experts can fight it out, you will. But if you ask me, I think it looks like an Eskimo pie. Thank you for dropping by, Paul.
My pleasure.
Maybe a better man to talk to would be the victim and gunman himself, Ronald Clark. He's here in the studio now, and hopefully he'll be able to answer a few questions. Mr. Clark, was there a second gunman?
It's all getting dark in here.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Can you repeat that, please?
It's getting cold and dark.
I'm sorry, I can't understand the word you're saying. Let me just remove this thing. Now, Mr. Clark, was there a second gunman?
He's dead.
Well, that's the way it is.